Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfe from our Half Acre Homestead, and I have several pounds of beef left from the beef we got in December, but it's been 8 months and it's wrapped in butcher paper. So I'm gonna grind it up and can it to save it. I am going to grind this meat up. I have one roast left in the freezer that I vacuum sealed. But this meat is 8 months old. It's been in my freezer for 8 months, and it's butcher wrapped, which means it's gonna start getting funky soon. So I've got to do something with it. First, it's gonna have to be cut up. But before my hands get slippery, I'm gonna put my meat grinder together. It's almost 4 o'clock, and some of this meat is gonna be made into meatloaf. And we're gonna start with the beef tongue. Why? Because it's gotta be peeled. And I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that, but I think if I slice it, yes, Howie's whippersnipping while we have sun. If I slice it, I may be able to just trim the skin off. I've been pretty busy. You got videos coming up of me canning beans, which you guys watched me. You sat with me while I snapped. Well, you know what? Once it's in the grinder, pretty sure with the rest of the beef, pretty sure it's not going to be an issue, right? And I gotta tell you folks, I'm getting concerned. Because the weather, between the weather and those, you know, environmentally caused wildfires, if my garden's doing as crappy, and I mean, I planted double this year. I'm not getting half of what I got last year. I'm not letting anything go to waste. Why throw that out, right? Especially since it's going to be ground with regular beef. I gotta tell you folks, there's going to be no more 4 jars giveaways that I'm aware of. Everything's taking a hit, guys. Everything is taking a hit, okay, when it comes to income. See, there's a little bit of freezer burnt already. You see that? I gotta cut that off. Like last year, you saw me dice up and freeze 30 pounds of onions, 50 or 60 pounds of potatoes I canned and dehydrated. I don't know how many peppers by weight, but I bet you I did at least close to a bushel of peppers. And I ran out because we lived more out of our pantry this year than usual. We didn't shop as much. So I planted extra this year. I need to can 100 pounds of potatoes this year. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get them for $2.49 for a 10-pound bag this year. Howie bought a bag of potatoes. I'm gonna use some of this meat for meatloaf tonight. Howie bought a bag of potatoes and it cost like $6. And I'm telling you folks, they're not the greatest. I'm gonna start grinding this meat. Okay, folks, this is going into a 250 to 300 degree oven to roast so that I can cook it and then can it. This is going to be our supper. The bits that I cut off, I'm going to put through the meat grinder, and I'm going to cook them separately for Gracie. All right, we've got our canner on the stove with the recommended amount of water in the bottom and a splash of white vinegar to keep the jars from clouding. I think I should add a little bit more water there. Supper's almost ready. That's our fries in the air fryer. I want to do this while the meat is still hot because it's going into a hot canner. I have 6 pint jars and lids washed, rinsed, and ready to go. I have my clean, am I recording? God, I need a new camera. I have my clean, it's been dipped in water and vinegar, my clean paper towel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually fill these all up. I need a better spoon, one that doesn't have holes in it. Because I want that juice to go in there too. I'm going to fill these all up. Now you can pack yours down if you want, but a packed down pint is way too much meat for Howie and I. So, and I salted this just before I put it in the oven. And the canning process, the pressure from the canner will suck that meat down. So, I hope I might need to wash another jar. Or I could just pack these down. Now, if I had let these sit in the freezer for another even couple of weeks, the food would have been inedible from freezer burn. It's the only problem with butcher paper, is you only got so many months to eat it up before you got to can it up to save it. So I'm going to fill these all. I am going to need another jar or two. That's good news. That's good news. One thing I love about having canned ground meat is it's so much easier when you're making things like tacos, which we don't usually eat. Stop it, Gracie. When you're making tacos or a fast spaghetti night or even pizza. So there's 6 jars. I'm gonna top these up. There's a couple here I'm gonna top up. Push the meat down in. And I'm gonna have to get 2 more pint jars here washed up. When you're washing your jars, always check your rims, folks. Always run your finger around your rims when you're washing your jars. So just in case there is like a chip or anything. If there's a chip on the edge, your jar either will not seal properly, but if it does seal, you may lose the seal later on. Okay, I just got to wash a couple of 4 jars lids. Now, I have to get these jars out of the way here. Eight pints, dear. We canned it to save it, that's for sure. And when I get my butchered beef and my butchered pork, I'm going to be asking them to give me, if they will, all the fat trimmings from the beef and the pork, the bones from the beef, and I'm going to get a lot of my meat ground. And so what I'm going to do is when it arrives, because it'll all be wrapped in butcher paper, I'm going to, I'll probably can up half of the ground meat. Just because we'll leave half in the freezer for meatloafs and stuff. I got a little bit more in this one. Push it down. You can shove these right down to a 1/2 inch from the top. Because like I said, you don't want it pressing up against the lid, but the pressure canning process will suck it down into the jar. So if you fill it from the top to the top and you don't press it down, you're only going to get a 1/2 pint, which is fine for us. All right, yes, Gracie. All right, always, always wipe your rims with a clean, damp paper towel. On goes the lid, and into the canner that goes. Okay, 8 pints in the canner. On goes our lid. Oh, there we go. As soon as this starts to spout a steady stream of steam, which it's almost there, I'm going to vent the canner for 10 full minutes. Always vent the canner for 10 full minutes. If you don't vent the canner properly, you won't get the proper pressure inside the canner when you put the weight on. Always follow the directions. Now, I'm going to be canning this with a 10-pound weight. If you live 1,000 feet or more above sea level, please check your manufacturer's directions because your canning times and weights may be different than mine. Okay, we're spouting a steady stream of steam, and I have set my timer. Okay, our timer has gone off. We're going to put our 10-pound weight on, and as soon as we get our first vigorous jiggle, we're going to set the timer. We're going to set our timer for 75 minutes. It's 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts. There's our first vigorous jiggle. Now, we don't want it to stay like that. We want it to do that just occasionally. So I'm going to turn this down between medium and maximum, and I'm going to set my timer for an hour and 15 minutes. Okay. Now, our timer went off while I was doing a live stream. So Howie shut the canner off for me while I was in a live stream. Now I cannot stress to you folks enough how important it is for you to allow your canner to cool naturally. Don't jiggle the weight, don't plunge it in cold water, don't wrap it in cold towels, and for God's sakes don't try and open it. Letting it cool down to the point of being able to open it is part of the canning process. Now, even though this is still quite hot, I can put my hand on it. So always open it away from you so you don't get a face full of steam. Oh yeah, 4 jars. You can't see it, but some of these are still bubbling inside the jars. It's the pressure that makes the difference between water bath canning and boil bath canning. When you pressure can something, the internal temperature gets to 240 degrees. All right, when you properly pressure can. Boil bath canning only gets to 215 degrees. That's why pressure canning is better for low acid fruits and vegetables and meat. 8 pints of, you can see it bubbling, look. 8 pints of ground meat. This is the Mrs. Wolfe from our half-acre homestead saying, canning it to save it. And there's going to be more of that coming because when we get our beef, our side of beef and our pig, I'll be canning more meat. All right? Times being what they are, we got to squeeze that quarter and make it fart a dime. Or maybe even double itself. We're going to try. Take care. God bless. Mwah. Remember, folks, if you're not using 4 Jars canning lids, you're missing out. Heavier than any other single-use lids on the market, they are a U.S. company, and these lids are of superior quality. The only lids I will use. Check the description box below this video for the link, and use the coupon code HALFACRE for 10% off. Orders over $50, ship free within the USA. Check them out on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. They make the perfect gift for the home canner in your life. 4 Jars Lids. You can't go wrong.